Hello everyone, I'm Sam Schuessler.
And I'm Andrew Stevens.
And we are from the podcast committee, and tonight we have a news story for you. We are no longer going to talk about the things that you're hearing every day about ISIS. We're not going to talk about German kamikaze pilots. We're not even going to talk about how scary Bruce Jenner looks in his current state right now. What we are going to talk about is the question of how would you like to be remembered? Tonight we're going to be discussing the question, how would you like to be remembered?
This is something that we don't ask ourselves much. So, how would you like to be remembered?
I would probably like to be remembered as somebody who loved others, was a humble man, but really put other people's needs above my own. But that's just me.
I'd like to be known as a baller.
Is that it?
20 plays on the baller.
Is that it?
That's basically what it is.
Well, we asked some other people this question, and we got a lot of different responses. And here are their responses to that very, very important question.
I want to be remembered as somebody who was not afraid to try new things, even though that might be scary. And if they do turn out to be scary, someone who would push through and persevere on.
I'd like to be remembered as a kind, generous person who looks to help others.
I want to be remembered by, I want to be a family-oriented person. Whenever I am very busy in my life, I always want to go back to my family because I know my family loves me.
I want to be remembered as someone who is spontaneous and courageous and goes after what they want, especially if it's like something that they really desire deep down inside, and just like takes a jump and a leap towards what that is to get what they want.
I want to be remembered as a humble servant leader that leads other people to Christ and is a good example, and always has a good time, like brings joy and likes to be around everybody. So that's why I want to be remembered.
Now tell us about your object and how that ties into how you want to be remembered.
Okay, so my object's a lone water shoe, and it represents a kayaking trip I took with Auburn. I nearly drowned a couple times, and so I was pretty shaken, rattled, and kept on going through. And I didn't really want to at all. And I got to the end, and it was time to jump in. I had to jump into the rapids to learn how to swim, and I jumped in and I ripped off one of my shoes. And so that one shoe represents that time where it's a time I look back and it was terrifying at the moment, but I'm glad that I did it, and it encourages me to go do other things that could be scary.
Were you scared? What were some of the emotions that you were feeling while you were jumping in the rapids?
That last time when I was out of my boat after I almost drowned a couple times, in my mind, reluctancy. I sure didn't want to do it. I was afraid of hitting a rock as I was getting swept away. But I mean, I did it. It's one of those times, every part of your body's telling you no, but you do it anyway. And I guess that's some part of bravery right there.
You have a water shoe, which doesn't really, to a normal person, really isn't on their mind every day, but that has a value to you as an individual because of the effect it had on your life and the story you just told. How would you try to explain the importance of that water shoe and the impact it had on your life to another person who maybe didn't really think of a water shoe in that same way?
But to explain to them why it's important to me, I'd tell them that story. And then hopefully they would realize too that it's important to try things, even though they might seem scary. And if they turn out frightening, to keep pushing through and to do things that when you look back on them, you'll say you're glad you did it and not regret not doing it. That's what I hope they would take away from my love shoe.
I chose the stacks from Thailand, which are like bugs and chicken blood, which is like coagulated, which is super gross. But I chose that because over in Thailand, like the culture is completely different than how it is here, and we like take certain things for granted, like running water and air conditioning, heating, and they have none of that there, and they live more of a simple life and basically live off of what's around them and no really processed goods, and I thought that was interesting and a cool way to live life by just using things that are around you and they're not superficial, and it's a cool way to live.
Now tell us about your object and tell us what your object is.
My object was family notes. So throughout my college year so far, my family would send me notes, or they'd send me flowers and they have a little note on them. And it always made me less homesick. Since I'm from Nashville, being 5 hours away, I sometimes get homesick. So those are constant reminders and give me comfort.
Has it really been hard being so far away from your family in college?
Yes, I've always lived in Nashville my whole life, so being in Auburn was a big change, but I love Auburn, so.
Was there a letter in particular that maybe you received during your really hard time here, or one that just really stuck with you in particular?
Probably during my birthday, since it was my first birthday away from my family. I always do have a big birthday dinner, and so it was hard being away. So I got a lot of cards from my family. So.
And now these family notes, have they had an impact on the way that you want to have a family someday, and have they taught you anything?
Yes, I would say I always want a close family like my family has been, and I want my family to always know that I'll always be there for them, just like my family was for me.
Now tell us a little bit about your object that you chose for Curiosity.
The object that I chose was a video, and it's entitled 50 People, One Question, and the purpose of the video is a group of people that go out on different cities around the world. This video that I focused on was in New York City, and they asked 50 people the same question, which was, if you could have one thing by the end of today, what would it be? And it interests me because I just felt like it was so interesting to see the different answers that different kinds of people had. Some people answered the question and said, I would like healthcare. And then someone answered the question and said, I want to be drunk by the end of today. So everyone has different ideas of what they want by the end of today.
What were some of the answers? That's a very interesting idea. What were some of the answers when you were watching it that stood out to you in particular, whether they were serious, humorous? What were some that particularly stood out to you?
I think the biggest one that stood out to me was when a man was asked if he could have one thing by the end of today, what would it be? And he said health, because he was dying from cancer and he wasn't doing well. And I thought it was kind of eye-opening, because it's the one thing that he wants is something that some of us take for granted every day. So.
What was the thing that after you watched that video, what was one thing that stuck with you, or the one thing that made you laugh, the one thing that you kind of took away after you watched that video?
What I took from the video was that when you're asked the question, if you could have one thing by the end of today, there's going to be something that pops in your mind straight off. And that one thing that pops in your mind is something that you desire most. And when you're asked that question, I asked myself that question after watching the video, and I right away got one desire, and it showed me, what is important to me and what I want in life. And some people's answers weren't the things that you could obtain. They're not obtainable things. It's not going to happen. But some people did have something that's obtainable, and maybe it's by the end of today you want to go on a date with a boy that you've seen, and then it shows you that you can get that. So why not go and get it? Why not walk up to that girl or that guy and tell them that you want to go on a date with him? And if it's I want a new job, go get one, and it shows you that you can do things, and it shows you that you should be courageous and you should do it.
What was that one thing that you popped into your mind?
The one thing that popped into my mind was seeing or speaking or hugging my dad one more time.
That's awesome. Now, how would you, this video, to someone who's not seen it, you've seen it, and obviously it's had a big impact, how would you recommend it to someone else? Tell them the importance of it and tell them why they should go watch that video.
I think they should watch the video because then puts the question of what you want by the end of the day in your head, and it will show you what your strongest desire is. And if that's something that's obtainable, it's encouraging you to go after it. And it's encouraging you to go after your dreams and go after what you want. And I think that's cool.
That's it.
Thank you so much for your time and for joining us.
Hopefully this video has been very eye-opening, and hopefully it has raised awareness. You've thought about in your own life how you would like to be remembered.